Hello, boys and girls. We are on chapter 2. We just finished up our mid-chapter review. That means we are halfway done and we are moving right along. So our objective for today is that I can divide by 2-digit divisors. So we've been practicing dividing by 1-digit divisor and we've had 3 or 4-digit dividends. Well, today we're going to practice dividing still with 3 and 4-digit dividends, but we're moving up to 2-digit divisors. We're also going to practice estimating our quotient so that it can help us divide a little bit easier, okay? And I just want to do a quick reminder before we get started that I have taught you a couple of ways already, and I'll teach you a couple more ways in this chapter to divide. It does not matter which way you choose to divide, okay, boys and girls? Whichever way works best for you is what you choose to stick with. If you like the traditional method, stick with it. If you like using partial quotients, go with it. If you like using the base 10 blocks, do that. Whatever works best for you is how you're going to get your answer, okay? I'm not going to ask you to use a specific way to divide to get an answer. So you pick what works best for you and go from there. Alrighty, so let's get started. This is our first problem that we're going to do today, and it says that we are going to estimate and divide. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to estimate. You can estimate quotients using compatible numbers that are found by using basic facts. So we have our divisor and our dividend. The thing that I like to do is I start with my divisor, and I always want it to end in a 0. Well, guess what? Our divisor already ends in a 0, so we don't have to change it, okay? So we're going to keep 60 as our divisor for how we're going to estimate. Now, instead of thinking about the multiples of 60, do you remember when we talked about basic facts and we just looked at the first digit of that number? So that's what we're going to do. Let's think of the multiples of 6. We have 6, 12, 18, 24, and I could go on, but this is as many as I need for right now, okay? Now, in order to estimate, you round your dividend and divisor to something that's easy for you to divide. Since we already have 60, we want to round 1,353 to something that's gonna help us easily divide by 60. So I'm gonna see my first digits right here. We'll look at 13. Is 13 closest to 6, 12, 18, or 24? Which one of those is 13 closest to? 12, that's right. I know that all of these numbers are divisible by 6. So I'm gonna turn my 13 into a 12. But can I just stop there and just say 12 divided by 60? No, because I have 2 more digits, my 5 and my 3, that I can't just forget about, right? Those digits become zeros. Awesome job. So to make my estimate, I have 1,200 divided by 60. I didn't have to change my 60 because 60 already ends in a 0 and it's easy for me to divide by. But I changed my 1,353 to 1,200 because that's going to make it easier for me to do that in my head, right? So what is 1,200 divided by 60? Well, if you think 12 divided by 6 is 2, right? 6 times 2 is 12. And 120 divided by 60 is still 2 because 60 times 2 is 120. So now I'm saying 1,200 divided by 60 is what? So what times 60 will give me 1,200? 20, right? We know that 6 times 2 gives us our 12. 60 has 1 0, so we just need the 1 more 0. So 60 times 20 is 1,200. So that tells us that 1,353 divided by 60 is going to be somewhere around 20. That's not our exact answer, that's our estimate. So our answer will be close to 20. So we're going to actually divide and see how close our estimate was, okay? Can 60, okay, before I start, you're going to use the same steps we used with one-digit divisors, so don't let that freak you out, okay? You're using the same steps, our numbers are just bigger. Can 60 go into 1? No, it can't. So I'm going to move to my 13. Can 60 go into 13? Nope. What about 135? Yeah. Do you know right off the top of your head how many times? Some of you may, some of you may not. But I know that it's close to 20, right? It'll go into this whole number close to 20. So I'm going to start with that 2 because it'll be this, my number in my tens place is going to be around 2. So I'm going to say I'm going to start with 60 times 2, which is 120. Well, that goes into 135. Can I go up to 3? Let's see. Nope, that's too much. So I need to stick with my 2. So 60 goes into 135 2 times. What was my answer to 60 times 2? 120. So I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. What's my next step, boys and girls? Bring it down. How many times does 60 go into 153? Well, we just kind of figured that out, right? Because it doesn't go in, we don't have enough to make 180, so it doesn't go into it 3 times, so 2 times. And that's still 120 that we're going to subtract. What is 3 minus 0? 3. 5 minus 2 is 3, and then 1 minus 1 is 0. Well, I don't have any numbers left to bring down, and I know if you're face-to-face, we talked about this some. I'm not sure if we've talked about it virtually yet or not, but if I'm out of places and I'm out of numbers to bring down, this is called my remainder. It's what is left over. And the way that I write that is I just put an R to represent remainder, and I put my 33. This tells me that if I have 1,353 of something, and I'm trying to make groups of 60, I could make 22 groups, and I would have 33 left over. The way you can check this is do 60 times 22. And you get 1,320, and then you have to add your remainder, and you would get 1,353, which is our dividend. That tells us that we divided correctly.